Neat.
Oh, so hello everyone, we're live now. Yes, hello and welcome to the Tonight Show podcast for today, the 14th of September, live on YouTube. I'm back in my home studio, and yes, with hopefully a good connection tonight. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, we've got a busy show tonight. I'm joined by Lay Party Sports Zach Jones for all latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Right, let's crack on with the news now. We've got a lot to get through, and we're also going to introduce a brand new segment to my show. Now, we're not quite copying. Well, if you say that, this is called going to be a special episode segment of Plank of the Week. Not quite the Mike Graham Plank of the Week show on Talk TV, but a slightly modified version of Plank of the Week, where we basically go over our heroes and villains of the week, basically. Again, heroes and villains, we're back in that form. Now, we're going to start off with the news now. I want to talk about the news regarding Putin and Kim Jong-un. Yes, now, this will be the news that we might all know. Now, I want to mention this because there's been news about Russia and potentially North Korea forming part of a new treaty. Now, this could be for a new arms deal. This could be for whatever, we don't know. But this news is very concerning as the US intelligence has reported that this deal could cause more problems for the war and for the outcome of the war in general. We know, obviously, that Russia had invaded Ukraine back in February of 2021. And we don't know whether who had been supplying weapons. We don't even know who was supplying the drones. I think Iran was apparently being used for drone supplies. But we now know full well that potentially North Korea could be behind all this. And this is a concern, Zach, isn't it? Especially for, I would say, some world leaders, in my opinion, if not all.
Yeah, I have to say on that, I think in short terms, it's concern from our perspective that North Korea is finally starting to shield the hooks of Russia. But it also shows, if you look at on the other hand, desperation, a complete and utter desperation by the Russians to get some weapons. If they're resorting to the North Koreans for ammunition and weapons and military equipment, then it just shows that they are running out of their own equipment at their side of things, because they probably used up on failed offensives in the Ukraine area, and instead of having to rely on dictators to wipe his feet basically and rub it on the floor. No really other way to put it, really, to be fair, other than this meeting. Now, nothing was really sincerely announced at this meeting. The US sort of intelligence suggesting that Russia was looking at trying to get some arms deal out of it. We don't know whether that's happened or not, but I'm guessing it was discussed because the North Korean general was there, the Russian general was there, the defense minister was there as well. All the military gurus of the Russia and the North Koreans were there meeting. And obviously, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, one of the two biggest clowns on the planet so far, if you want to put it in that terms as well. I mean, North Korea is itself a military sort of exonerator, really, to be fair, threatening Japan, South Korea, doing ballistic missile testing as well. It's just really two planks, shall we say, really, needing to feed the cow in many instances. This is one of them as well. What should we look from it? Well, even if North Korea does provide Russia with ammunition, at the end of the day, it's not going to be really that effective, because they've failed as it is to get ammunition from their own stockpile. It could be in a complete failure in that end. And the other thing as well is the reason why Russia is obviously trying to get North Korea for weapons is because Russia is trying to evade sanctions. They know they've been hit by these sanctions, but North Korea can work around that some way or another with what they're providing, and they're just going to ignore what going to be provided to them to get, and that means going to North Korea to do it. And that's the sort of desperate measures that they were sort of going to do. So yeah, it's unfortunate that we're in this situation. It just shows you who really North Korea is siding with. I mean, North Korea is one, I think, only 5 UN country to sort of vote against condemning Russia for the invasion of Ukraine. I think there's only 5 countries that voted against it as well. I think who was the other ones? I can't remember who it was, but obviously Russia voted against it, North Korea voted against it. I don't know who the other ones were. I imagine it was Iran that voted against it as well. So it's not surprised to see North Korea going on the side of Russia here, because they're, totalitarian super dictators. It's obviously a concern that North Korea is trying to pump Russia with ammunition, but at the same time, I feel like this is all just desperation from the North Koreans, with the fact that they are just being, or Russia, to be fair, because of the fact they're running to North Koreans for ammunition, weapons, all that sort of thing as well. And yeah, I know they're going to probably learn off each other with the technology using everything else as well. But it shows you something, that North Korea has chosen Russia, and the Kim Jong-un is his first sort of foreign trip in 4 years. I mean, because he barely comes out of his country most of the time anyway. It's been like the first one in 4 years that he's come out of North Korea. Russia is on its doorstep anyway, so is China. But it shows, like I said, it shows the desperation of what they're trying to do really here. And I just don't know if it's going to really work, to be honest. It's, like I said, it's just 2 clowns meeting with aim to be the most super dictators and, superhuman powers of the world. And it just, if you think of the past, it ain't going to work. And it's just a showbiz, this meeting, really, from what I see out of it.
It's going to be very, very interesting. I do apologise for the camera format, guys. My laptop is playing up a little bit at the moment. But yeah, I just want to say, I think Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un are clearly not giving this up. I mean, obviously, as you said, Zach, I think North Korea didn't really want to vote, and they voted against, or voted essentially that Russia wanted to invade Ukraine. So obviously don't vote in condemning it, but it's an interesting one. I mean, I condemn the war, and I think what they've done over the last 2 years is brutally innocent, basically innocent, kill innocent civilians and brutally do it as well on purpose. We know that these are war crimes, and in my opinion, this war has been going on for a long time. And obviously, the situation in Crimea at the moment, Ukraine could be about to retake that territory. There's been a lot of developments over the last couple of weeks, isn't there, on the battlefield?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what happened in Ukraine, there's been especially a lot of attacks on Crimea recently as well, which I'm very fascinated to see about. There's been sort of an operation down sort of the Severodonetsk area, which is in Crimea. It's been a bit of stuff going on there. Ukraine have been certainly providing a lot of attacks there, attacking ports, attacking, fielding military targets there as well. So it feels like there's some sort of operation going on there. Is this the first step towards Russia Ukraine hoping to start their edge on Crimea potentially? We don't know. But yeah, I think that's one to watch out for over the next couple of months. This is going to be the only best opportunity I think Ukraine has for the moment. We're coming up to that sort of year again where it starts to get a bit cold, it starts to snow, it starts to get a bit wet. So those military equipment on the ground are going to be grinding, and therefore not going to make much progress. So now is really the time, I think, for Ukraine to strike in areas like Zaporizhia and eastern Ukraine. I think this is where I think the southeastern area. This is where they should really start striking, to be honest, and really start moving their counter-offensive along. I mean, the US assessment of it is that there are signs of it progressing along. But whether they've made enough progress will be down to the Ukrainians on this one, I think, as well. And as you could see as well, the sort of the headline area of what's going on in North Korea, obviously the Kim Jong and Vladimir Putin meeting as well. On that front, you can see there's just an overview of what they discussed. Well, they met for quite a while, and where they met as well is right on the North Korea and Russia border as well. So there's obviously in the very eastern area of Russia, where the two leaders met. Keep in mind as well that Russia has a massive, 15,000 square meters of land, really. A bit more than that, I say as well. And that will take it all the way across the top and through into China. And, like I said, North Korea as well. So they're obviously meeting the border area as well. But yeah, this is a meeting of them two as well, discussing, what's happening. I mean, North Korea very supportive of Russia, as you could probably tell, in the battle, and there's probably not surprised on that front as well. Yeah.
Certainly interesting as well. There was also an overnight attack on the port city of Sevastopol, home to Russia's Black Sea Fleet, occupied in Crimea, strapped with a large Russian landing ship, and also a submarine as well, also part of that as well. And US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Russia's war in Ukraine is the most immediate and acute threat to the international order enshrined in the UN Charter and its core principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity and independence, in a speech delivered to the Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies. And that was what the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken had to say. That's all from that bit of news. Now we're going to move on and talk about the UK now. And obviously we had Parliament this week. We had Prime Minister's questions. Now we're going to talk in a minute about Keir Starmer's migration comments, which came out the other day, where we've had influxes of illegal migrants crossing over into Italy and also over here as well, record migrant crossings. But Zach, PMQ's really about a couple of things, including migrants, and also about a very interesting escape for Daniel O'Keefe the other week, shortly after we came off air.
Yeah, and we had a prisoner escape last week, as you probably we mentioned as well. He's now been captured, thankfully, and now back in prison where he belongs because he's a suspected terrorist as well. He made his way from HMP Wandsworth, somehow escaped, and I think, as we discussed this, whether the primary investigation for what I think Alex Chalk was saying was that it was potentially, the staff followed the procedures, staff had the necessary safety protocols in place as well. So they're looking at whether there was internal help inside as well from potentially other officers or other prisoners. Now I think it's more like the prisoners and everything as well. But like HMP Wandsworth is not only the thing that's kind of under scrutiny of this Dan O'Keefe escapee. It's been multiple gang attacks in the last week or so in that prison. So he's met and he's been really unsafe as well. I remember that I was telling you about this as well, if I remember from the last week, that I think it was the former police commissioner said that he would shut the prison down if it was still running what it is today, because of the state of it, the prisons there and how they managed as well. But first of all, it's good to see that Dan O'Keefe is now back behind bars. He obviously didn't get far because he went from Wandsworth to Tamworth to Tamworth, or other areas, sort of within an 8-mile radius, as I understand it. So he didn't get far out of London very much at the moment, given how far he got. I mean, 8 miles should be an easy area to find for police as well. I mean, it was helped the fact that they were non-uniform and managed to capture him. Which is very clever, you have to say as well. If they had the normal police thing on, then they probably would have not got him or anything like that. They probably would have run away and tried to hide somewhere else. But yeah, he thankfully got captured. He is now under arrest. He's probably going to have more time behind prison now, being a suspected terrorist, and now a prisoner escapee. He's going to be dealt with harshly within the law, I think, as well. So that's good to see that front, I have to say. And yeah, pretty much there as well. It's he's finally behind bars again, which is good to see, and necessary as well. You have to say. I'm going to switch to my computer. Because I believe it's now working.
We're going to just quickly get Zach back on air now.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave on my phone.
Here we go, guys. We're just going to have a little bit of an intermissional break here, just whilst we get Zach fired up on his laptop.
He's here.
So we have Zach now online on the laptop as well. I just want to say we're going to move on whilst we're here to talk about the parliamentary side of things. And Zach, obviously, what have you made to this news in Europe about illegal migrants crossing, particularly in like Italy and here, where they're being overwhelmed?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this today actually because this is really interesting and a fascinating insight into divides at the moment between the two parties. Because today, Keir Starmer has been actually up in The Hague. Whilst it's been going on, I'll get onto that in a moment. But Italy, like you mentioned, overwhelmed with problems at the moment involving illegal migration at the moment. And I have to say, at the moment, they're having a bit of difficulties there. There's been about 7,000 migrants that have landed on Italy's Lampedusa island in the past 2 days. 7,000 on the island as well. Thousands. I mean, these are the reason they're still overwhelmed by a number of migrants shores, is said as well, after thousands of people landed from North Africa on flimsy boat over the last 2 days. Now, Lampedusa sits in the Mediterranean between Tunisia, Malta, and the large Italian island of Scilly. And it's normally the first port of call for many migrants trying to seek the European to reach the European Union as well. However, we now reached, and the mayor said that they've always welcomed them, but now reached a point of no return, and the island is in crisis, and Europe in Italian state must step in with a rapid support operation and swift transfer of people. The island normally has a population of 6,000, so the amount of people that's coming in is more than the actual island population itself, which is quite incredible as well. Now, Giorgia Meloni took government in October to saying in one of her main objectives to crack down on immigration as well. Now, the Deputy Prime Minister has said the lack of support from EU members calls either an act of war and the death of Europe. Bit overreacted, I have to say, on that one. Meloni said a conference about some legal migration could benefit economy could not be a solution to the current demographic crisis as well. So, yeah, a lot of problems in Italy. And this goes on to my point as well. And obviously, this wasn't mentioned in PMQs, but this was still part of the parliamentary conversation, I think, today as well in Westminster. That Keir Starmer has gone to The Hague today alongside Yvette Cooper to announce a new migration policy for Labour. This is really important because what they're basically doing is that they're trying to distance themselves from the Tories on immigration. They want to create a fairly secure the borders and create fair immigration, but what they're trying to do is they've committed to scrapping Rwanda. They're saying it's unworkable. The other thing they've mentioned as well is obviously better security and more, more from GCHQ as well, a cross-border police force Europe, border with Europe and everything like that as well, to track boats as well and crack down on people smugglers who said they'll treat like terrorists, basically, which I think is very welcome because at the end of the day, people smugglers are, evil. They make human life misery, and they should be treated as, the evils that they are. But it's interesting as well. They said as well on this that they would scrap Rwanda, and they would sort of go and put the money into scrapping Rwanda, into sort of employing people into the the Home Office to get processing claims done. I think it's a good idea because the Tories' policy at the moment on their current plan seems to be, oh yeah, let's just not let anybody in at all. We're just going to treat any asylum seeker as an illegal immigrant and just forget their claims. Gone, off you go. Whereas Labour's taking this approach of basically saying, well, yeah, come in, but if your claim is legal, we'll just deport you back as well. So they're technically letting them in, but they're also going to kick them out if they're illegally and they're not supposed to be there, and then they should be returned back to wherever they come from. Now, the other thing that was mentioned as well, and I noticed got conservative eyebrows raised a little bit, and they've been on attack for this as well, is that the Labour government, if they do get in charge next year, will want a returns deal with the European Union, which seems fair enough. The conservative sort of attack that I did today claim that there's going to be like 100,000 refugees coming to this country every year or something, which I have to say is a statistically misleading figure that they've just plucked out the air with no basis of reality for whatsoever. I mean, yeah, there's obviously got to be a negotiation
of who is allowed to come here and who isn't. How many is allowed to come here, how isn't. They can't have hundreds of thousands coming here all the time, just openly in. But the idea that 100,000 are going to come in every year is just nonsense. And it's been used by Rishi Sunak, misleadingly, by Robert Jenrick, by many Tories. Cyril Braverman called it a dumping ground for millions of migrants' labour plans, which is just a dog whistle racist rhetoric as well. But in all seriousness, the Labour are trying to divide, trying to create a more, in their words, workable solution. I do agree there has to be some sort of returns deal with the EU, because you don't have any returns deal, then, when you expect to deport these asylum seekers, where they're supposed to go? Where are they supposed to go? They've got to go somewhere. And if we're going to deport people, we've got to contribute to our own sort of contribution rather than letting some people in, I think. And I think it's a fair policy. It secures the borders, but it also makes sure that, we welcome people that really are needed in, and not this just close border, bye-bye, get sod off policy. And there's been obviously Tories in disarray over this, but I just, they're just being misleading at the end of the day, in my view. They're just being totally misleading. They're not being truthful. And at the end of the day, it's not an open borders policy. It's just more of a keep borders secure, but let people who really can be allowed in come in whilst deporting those illegally here. It's a fair policy. And it's realistic. It's not like Rwanda, which is under court investigation at the moment. The Supreme Court's yet to decide on that. They're going to have a hearing soon, I think, on that as well. But the thing about it is there's no easy... This is going to divide the Tories in many ways. If they're going to do Rwanda, then it's not going to work. If Rwanda does get approved, then it's not going to work because they're going to be wasted taxpayer money trying to get thousands of immigrants to go to Rwanda when there's only capacity for 300. And secondly, if the courts do strike Rwanda down, there's going to be a whole big division on ECHR, which is going to, if they start campaigning on leaving that, then it breaks the Good Friday Agreement. So they've got themselves stuck in a hole, of Tories here. And Labour, I think, with my biased eyes, I'm sorry to say this, but it seems to be a more sensible solution than just kick everybody out. If you come here on a dinghy, then screw you anyway. Then some people might not have a choice coming on the dinghy. That's the whole point. I mean, France, safe countries. There's got to be more reason why they don't choose France to come here rather than go there rather than come here. There's obviously reason for that. No one seems to be interested to see why they're not. Why so? But yeah, this is going to be a bit of a dividing line, and I think the Tories will try to use this some sort of a scapegoat to try and attack Labour. But yeah, they're not doing well so far. I don't think. If their idea is 100,000 every year, which seems to be, if fact checks are correct, completely misleading.
Welcome back to the Brexit debate of pre-2019, if anyone remembers the time when we all debated about Brexit. And I mean, Zach's given his view there of basically Brexit in a nutshell. So immigration was a big part of the Brexit deal. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that. But comment down below, guys, what you made to the current story so far. We're going to carry on with the show now. Now, we're going to introduce a new segment to the show called Plank of the Week. Now, usually we tend to do this at the end of the show. We're going to do it in the middle of the show because I feel like this segment flows a little bit better. Because we've had a lot of people been asking about, are you going to do a segment where you talk about the best and worst news stories of the week? That's what we're going to do now. So, kind of going to do a quick fire one here. Now, we're going to start off with my main moments. Now, number one is obviously going to be about America right now. And we're going to talk about two politicians from two different parties that could be heading to cognitive decline. Yes. The other day, it was reported that Mitch McConnell from the Republican Party appeared to actually freeze during an interview. And also Joe Biden, also the current president of the United States, also the leader of the free world, having problems as well with his, mental, with his health in general. This is actually concerning news, but also quite interesting. Zach, do you think this kind of has to deserve a nomination here for what's happened?
You know, Mitch McConnell's an interesting one, isn't he? Because I think there's signs that his health is starting to decline a little bit as well. I mean, yeah, he's had those 2 freezes whilst he's been trying to talk to the press. I mean, yeah, one time when he was talking to the Senate, he froze. He said nothing. His staff had to wheel him away. And there was this instance a couple of weeks ago where once again he froze again, and staff had to wheel him away whilst he then returned. It happens sometimes. I get that, but it does raise quite a concern in health questions as well. That he's been freezing. He had a fall. We know that a couple of weeks, many months ago, he had a fall and he was out of the Senate for a little while. And he might have a concussion, I think, possibly from that. But it's concerning to see that, you know, Mitch McConnell is hoping to run until obviously the end of his Senate term, but I don't think he's going to run beyond that, to be fair, as well, because he's looking at his health. It's a bit of a debating point, really, and he may well end up resigning after his next term. As for, well, you know, Joe Biden, I mean, everyone's debating whether he's a cognitive decline since he last ran. I mean, it's been a running story about that. I mean, look, okay, he's a bit of a plonker sometimes. We can't lie about that. But I'd rather have a plonker than an absolute dangerous buffoon and destructive human being than Donald Trump. I'd rather have that than someone who, you know, has a freeze in the middle, can't remember what he's saying half the time, than someone who really is, you know, main aim of the United States is sedition and treason, really, to be fair, in what my view is on you know, the Trumpity of the Trumps. But yeah, I maybe say for Mitch McConnell, he's a little bit concerning, but for Joe Biden, well, we'll see. It's not been the best of weeks for Joe Biden, to be fair. I mean, we had news today that his son Hunter has been indicted on 3 charges of gun charges today. Now, there was a plea agreement that was done through the DOJ originally as well, but then it got shot down in the courts, I believe, as well. So they've gone the indictment route now, the DOJ. There's no cooperation on that one. It looks like he's now been indicted. There's going to be a trial. It'll be interesting to see what happens on that one with 3 charges, especially on the guns as well. But it's a really big kick in the teeth for the president, who's now going to have his son focused on his back now throughout this campaign throughout the next couple of months.
The next plank of the week comes from this rather interesting message from Sadiq Khan, where he apologises for calling Tory rival thick during a ULEZ extension argument. Have a listen to this.
You said they're going to follow the practice they did last time. It's exactly what you said. And I'm telling you what they did last time, and you're saying you didn't say that. It's extraordinary.
Chair, it's like being back at sixth form. For the debaters there.
Did you talk to handsome and intelligent men at sixth form as well?
I mean, honestly, Chair, for somebody who reads a lot, he ain't that thick, isn't he?
Listen, no. Listen. That's when I know you're in trouble. When you start getting personal, that's when I know you're in trouble. So remember that you're the mayor of London and you're a grown man, well, nearly. You're a grown man, and you should act accordingly.
I remind the members that I don't like it when they use personal views.
Is that a fair reflection of what you asked TfL to do?
So, firstly, before I answer your question, can I just apologise unreservedly to Peter Fortune for calling him thick? I'm very sorry for saying that. I've reflected on that. I shouldn't have said that. It's not appropriate for me to have said that. I'm very sorry, genuinely.
Thank you to Sadiq. I actually apologising live in a London Assembly session after calling someone thick. Oh dear. Not ideal if you're the Mayor of London. And Zach, the reason I nominated Sadiq Khan was for my second plank of the week, and I'll come on to yours in a minute, was over, obviously, ULEZ, another one, people paying £12.50. But also because the Mayor is also going to be rolling out, along with Labour Mayor of Wales, Mark Drakeford, the proposed dreaded 20-mile-an-hour speed zones across London and parts of Wales. What do you make of this?
Right. Okay. So on that point, right, okay, I might as well just call the plank of my nomination for plank of the week. I'm going to give this to Conservative MPs in Wales. No, seriously, I am. I might as well just do it whilst we're here, because this is interesting, right? Okay, the Wales government is introducing a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on some roads where cars mix with pedestrian and cyclists as well. It's a good idea. So 8 communities are doing it. They're going to do it in St Dales, Lunarney, St Bridges, Central Cardiff, Cliff Valley, Abergid eventually, Sevenside and Buckley as well. They're introducing 20-mile-an-hour speed limits to basically improve road safety, make it easier for people, improve the environment as well, reduce the number of collisions and severe injuries, encouraging more people to walk and cycle, street safe and safeguard the environment as well. There are Conservative MPs literally complain about this, so this is authoritarian and unnecessary. Is it unnecessary, okay, to protect the streets from children being run over by silly drivers? Is it authoritarian to think about the future and, not, injure cyclists as well? Is it not authoritarian to keep clean air and be good for the environment? Is it not, authoritarian to stop the amount of people going to hospital because of 20-mile-an-hour speed limits? This is like ludicrous, right? Okay, that Conservative MPs are literally are in a howling, rage over this, and I just cannot believe what on earth they're thinking, right? Okay, about this. It just baffles me. Like it's honest. It's so baffling that they would complain. Okay, via what? Why? It's safer measures, and I just don't get it. It's thoroughly bemusing and utterly strange that they'll complain about making 20-mile-an-hour roads like there. It's just pathetic. Honestly, it's safe. I like these ideas. I was in holiday in Wales in July, okay, and most roads were 20 or 30, right? Okay, and that's good because some of the roads were really narrow. They're single lane. You can't get 2 cars in one go, and most of the roads were 20 mile an hour. And actually, I noticed how safe it was, how really nice it was to see actually that we weren't putting national speed limit across like countryside roads and everything like that. And I can't in my utter imagination think, why on earth would you eject 20-mile-an-hour speed limits on narrow roads? It boggles my mind, and honestly, it is pathetic that people even complain about improving road safety. What do you want it to do? 60 miles an hour and then run over your school kids or something like that? I honestly, I'm losing when Pete Tories object to 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on rural roads. It boggles my mind. It really does.
I mean, the thing is that can't you say the same about the thing is like with London is also ULEZ and 20-mile-an-hour zones. Isn't Sadiq Khan now facing pressure from the Tories, or do you think the Tories are scaring him off?
No, it's just the Tories ain't going to scare him off. He's going to implement this, and it's fair enough. I mean, like ULEZ, I mean, whether you agree or disagree with it, he's stuck with it, and he's digging in, and he's stuck with it, and that's fair. He could have just given it up, and then catapulted and made him looking a bit weak and a bit of a U-turner, but no, he stuck with it, and this 20-mile-an-hour thing isn't really going to make much difference as well. So yeah, I'm baffled of why people want to cancel 20-mile-an-hour schemes, as well, which is safer in London. It's good it's in London. I think that's safe, and especially in Wales as well, which I found the roads really safe, to be fair, with 20 mile an hour, 30 miles an hour when I was on holiday in Wales. So yeah, I just find the complaints to this baffling and bizarre.
It'd be an interesting debate. And my final mention would go to Mohamed El Shabagi in the squash, in the PSA Qatar Classic earlier on, for apparently hitting the squash ball before it hit the ground. Apparently went to hit the squash ball during the squash match. So very, very interesting in that one there. He was playing Mazin Hesham in that match. And the match ended in rather bizarre circumstances, actually, as well. So that video is available on Squash TV. That's all from Plank of the Week now. We'll be doing that again next week. Please send us in what you'd like us to talk about, our highlights of the week, our least highlights of the week. Just let us know. That's really a highlight of the week segment, really. We're now going to go on to sport now. And we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to start off, though, with the Rugby World Cup, because that's been on at the moment. I know a lot of you guys, we don't cover rugby on the show very much, but the World Cup's on. I thought we'll cover it. Obviously, yes, England played the other night in the internationals. We are going to also round up some Premier League action in a minute, and we'll obviously do that as part of this little update. So we're going to quickly go off with the Rugby World Cup. Obviously, I just want to say as well, England, I think, did play the other night in the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah.
Well, from what I understand. Here we go, guys. This is the Rugby World Cup results or matches for you right here. We're getting the live feed up. Now, so in the matches at the moment, these were some of the other matches that took part. France and Uruguay was 27-12. That was today's match. We then had, obviously, England beating Argentina 27-10. Our match included France 27-13 over New Zealand, Italy 52-8 over Namibia, and Australia and Georgia are some of the matches there, 35-15 there. Zach, what have you made so far to the Rugby World Cup and particularly England's progress?
Yeah, there's been obviously a big good World Cup so far. There's been a few interesting, TMO decisions, which I thought was ludicrous, but there we go. Kicked off Friday last week, France, New Zealand 27-13. Very divided half as well. New Zealand ahead, then France as well, but it was a good match, I think, overall. Then we got to Saturday. There was some high scores in this one. Italy 52-8 over Namibia. Massive scores there for Italy. I mean, you had tries all over the place in that one. It was incredible there for Italy. Great job by them. And then let's go to the home nation matches now, because we had Ireland. Wow. 82-8 over Romania. Absolutely slumped the opposition. It's nearly their biggest score in Ireland, in Rugby World Cup history. I mean, pretty much. I think it just didn't quite beat it. The amount they've won over. There's been a few other teams that won over 80 before, but my goodness, 82-8 for Ireland was complete and utter humiliation for Romania on that one as well. Australia, good team, 35-15. I mean, very impressive match on that one. And then when we got to the controversial decision, England-Argentina, there was a red card early on for Tom Curran, which I thought was pretty controversial because of the fact that there was a few Argentinian tackles which I thought was worthy of a red card, but didn't get a red card. But George North, wow. I think it was 5 or something like that. I can't remember who it was. There was more than that, actually. But they got more than several drop goals. Did an incredible job there as well. And an absolutely incredible, really incredible job of getting all that drop goals. It was almost like watching football, it was, with the drop goals. But, yeah, seriously impressive stuff there for him as well. 27-10. Japan, Chile, 42-12 as well. And then we get into this other one. South Africa beating Scotland 18-3. A very even first half, but then South Africa, I think, got the better of them in the second half. Scotland in the second half as well. A very good match between Wales and Fiji, 32-26 as well. Fiji just missing out towards the end with an absolute last gasp attempt, dropping the ball in the last minute. Wales 32-12. I mean, it was an incredible match overall. Warren Gatland was very lucky to get away with the victory for the Wales team. And there's just to mention the France-Uruguay match has just wrapped up, and it's 27-12 victory for France as well. Looking ahead as well, tomorrow we've got New Zealand-Namibia at 8 p.m. And then we've got a triple headed on the Saturday and Sunday. So we have Samoa v Chile at 2 o'clock on the Saturday. And then the home matches are Wales-Portugal at 4:45, Ireland-Tonga at 8, South Africa-Romania at 2 on the Sunday, Australia-Fiji at 4:45 on the Sunday, and then England's next match is going to be a tasty one, I think, against Japan on the Sunday at 8 o'clock as well. But that's obviously the upcoming fixture of match day 2 of the Rugby World Cup.
And also Premier League as well this weekend. Wolves, Liverpool, Fulham, Luton will play on the Saturday, along with Tottenham, Sheffield United, West Ham, Man City, Man U, Brighton, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Brentford, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Everton, Arsenal, and Nottingham Forest, Burnley. Zach, what do you make quickly to the Premier League fixtures this weekend that are upcoming?
Yeah, the match of the week, certainly some matches of the weekend. I mean, obviously the Sunday matches feature about Everton v Arsenal, which will be a bit of an up and down fixture over these years. Everton not being good form in the moment, but as well. 2:00 game, obviously on the Sunday, Bournemouth v Chelsea. Chelsea struggling again, unfortunately, at the moment. A match against Bournemouth will certainly be a tasty time as well. And then it's really Newcastle trying to get back at Brentford after a pretty tricky few weeks for that team as well. The match I'm looking forward to seeing over the weekend as well. We've got Manchester United, Brighton as well at 3. That'll be another tasty match. Spurs, Sheffield United, West Ham, Man City. I'm looking forward to that one because there's 2 teams in really good form at the moment. West Ham have been doing better than expected with their additions certainly provide worthwhile. Man City winning all their matches so far. I think they're the only really team to win all that so far. And then we've got Wolves, Liverpool at 12:30 on TNT as well. So yeah, that's to look forward to. And then we've got Champions League next week as well. That returns for the first time as well. There will be fixtures for Newcastle begin their campaign against AC Milan. That's on a Tuesday. Also on the same Tuesday, on Manchester City start against Red Star, and then Wednesday, really 2 tasty fixtures: Arsenal, PSV, and then the feature match on the Wednesday will be Bayern Munich versus Manchester United as well. And then Thursday, there's 5 British teams taking part, or English teams in the Europa and Europa Conference League. There will be Liverpool, Lask as well. Brighton take on AFC Athens as well. West Ham as well, also in Europa League action, obviously after winning last year's Europa Conference League. They'll be taking on Baka Chiopa as well. And then Aston Villa in the Conference League, it's their first European appearance for such a while as well. They'll be taking on Liga Warsaw at 5:45 on the Thursday on the Europa Conference League. So lots of European football to look ahead to, Charlie, over the next week or so.
European football, I'm sure will be good. I think I heard that Newcastle got the group of death in the Champions League. So
yeah.
That's what had been nicknamed the hardest group. So I wish all the teams luck in that competition. And also all of the Rugby League World Cup men's team, and also the men's football teams for their upcoming matches this weekend. We're now going to talk about the upcoming Formula One now this weekend at the Singapore Grand Prix, which is now, I believe there is about at least, I think, round 14 or 15 in the season. We are now heading into the final part now, guys. The flyaway races return. This is a circuit, guys. Singapore, one of the most physical races on the calendar. This is a long, hot, humid race where all the drivers are going to be sweating themselves out in the cockpit. It is a hot one. Very, very humid race. They're going to lose at least 3 to 4 kilos of body weight in the race. We've had track modifications. The final sector has now been changed due to construction, but that's now straight down into a chicane. There'll be a long length and straight there that's going to remove a grandstand as well that the track used to pass under in sector 3. And there is also going to be a potential for, let's hope, I don't know if this is true, but Max Verstappen, Zach, has never won at Singapore before.
Yeah, he's never won at Singapore before. He can't claim the world title this weekend. He can claim it in Japan if the results go his way. But yeah, this is the most demanding race of the season. And certainly on the drivers, the fact it's hot, it's humid, there's a lot of twists and turns as well. It's going to be a demanding circuit as well for everybody involved. It's going to be very tricky, and it's going to be a very long race as well. As you mentioned, there has been a track change this year, especially in the last segment as well. We're now from 20 turns to 17 not 20, 22 to sort of 19 now. Because the chicanes it was between 15, 16, 17 are now gone. And now they've been replaced by a front stretch now between 15 and 16. The reason why this is because of the construction work as well in that area. So yeah, they're doing work there. It means there's now a front stretch. There's no chicane there, so it'll make the lap times about 10 seconds faster. So from a demand point of view, that's like a sort of a physical acceleration. It makes it less physical for the driver, but it's still going to be physical most of the circuit, and it may set up overtaking opportunities, especially on the turn 16 now. But we'll see about that as well. It'll make it going the entry into 16 a little bit slower, but it will also set up possible overtaking opportunities at that lot 16 into 17 as well. So there will be a little bit difference, but yeah, this is going to be the most demanding one as well. A few headlines going to the race as well. Zhou Guanyu signing a new contract with Alfa Romeo for another season. Was reports about what could happen with him and his seat in the future, especially speculations that there was some differences and that they were looking to other drivers. But now he's secured another season in that Alfa Romeo seat. And also, once again, Liam Lawson is once again in for Daniel Ricciardo as well, who may not be back in a race car until Qatar now. Now, Daniel Ricciardo is actually at the Singapore Grand Prix this weekend, but he's not driving because of his wrist is still having issues as well. But yeah, it's a shame on that front. But Liam Lawson's done well in his last 2 races, so he deserves that seat for now, no matter what. So yeah, I mean, if Liam Lawson hopefully will be looking to keep the good form as well. McLaren got a slightly updated livery. It's more blackish livery as well for the next 2 races, which looks good. But Singapore, the most demanding race this year, and another night race as well. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. The 3 DRS zones will be on this circuit. The run from the final corner into the turn 1. There's also going to be a DRS zone from the exit of 5 into 7. That's down the Singapore, up, down underneath. I keep forgetting what that straight is always called. Raffles Boulevard. That was it. Thank you. Remember the name now. And then the 3rd DRS zone will be placed on the exit of a very tight turn 13 into turn 14, which is Esplanade Park there as well. And as you said, Zach, the new section will be introduced. That's actually the scene where Nelson Piquet had his very famous accident in 2008, where he was actually ordered to crash by his Renault team and ended up basically handing the win to Fernando Alonso with a well-timed safety car. But we know that race was illegal. And Zach, I have to say, before we move on, Felipe Massa's still not getting anywhere with his appeal over the 2008 World Championship.
Yeah, like I said as well. I mean, you're saying that Hamilton should reach out and appreciate all this as well. But nah, yeah, again, I don't see how far this is going to go again. I still don't think this is realistic. I think this is crap, really. Legal challenge, and it's just going to go nowhere. And compensation, it's not really an answer to it. I mean, I know what happened. We know what happened in Singapore a few years ago with Nelson Piquet Jr. That was wrong. People did get suspended for that. There's accountability in that own right, but still, I don't think this legal challenge is worth the merit it really is.
So that is Formula One. I'm just going to do a quick update on the NASCAR now. Obviously, IndyCar has finished. I also want to say as well, forgot to mention, congratulations in the Formula 2 and Formula 3 race as well. There was world champions in that as well. Formula 2, Formula 2, is still going. Formula 3 have a champion right now. I'm just going to confirm to you the winner of the Formula 3 series. That was at Monza for their last race. And I believe the winner of the Formula 3 championship was Gabriel. Zach O'Sullivan was the runner-up. Gabriel Bortolotto claimed the championship there as well in Monza. But yeah, and moving on now quickly to NASCAR, the IndyCar, that's finished as well. Zach, I watched the final race of the playoffs just before we came on air, and Tyler Reddick getting a crucial win and advancing to the round of 12.
Yeah, big victory, obviously for Tyler Reddick as well in that sense as well. Big victory for him and that was extremely crucial as well. And getting into the next round as well. He finished ahead of Denny Hamlin, finished second, Eric Jones third, Kyle Larson fourth. Joe got on 5th, Chase Elliott 6th, Carl Busch 7th, Chris Bell 8th, Brad Keselowski 9th, Alex Bowman 10th as well. There was DNF for Martin Truex Jr. Very, very poor result for him. That's very shocking. Bubba Wallace Jr. struggling as well at the back in 32nd as well. I just want to point that out. Harrison Burton, the other one, JJ Gillies, also DNF. But Martin Truex is one of them. Bubba Wallace Jr. is another. And what that means for the Cup stand is we go into the final round of 16. And this is the final round. There's no hiding back now. This is all going to be all or nothing. If you're outside the top 12, you are out of the playoffs. You're eliminated as well. If we look at it from that perspective as well, Martin Truex Jr., Bubba Wallace, Ricky Stenhouse, Michael McDowell are all still outside the points, outside the top 12 at the moment. I mean, Bubba Wallace, we know, had a poor weekend. Bubba Wallace is 19 behind at the moment, minus 19 on the points. Martin Truex is minus 7 as well. So Truex has a good opportunity to try and get past Kevin Harvick in the standings, but it depends on the results as well. We know that Tyler Reddick's now through to the playoffs safely to the round of 12 because of his victories. Well, we know Kyle Larson is through to the round of 12 because he won the race as well. So congratulations to both of them. But yeah, it's still plenty of opportunity. If I'm Kevin Harvick, I'm worried because I'm on the bubble zone. If I'm Chris Busch or Christopher Bell, I'm going to be a little bit worried because I'm on the chopping block as well, potentially. But I'm also worried Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has got very little chance at the moment, I don't think, at the moment. So is Michael McDowell. Bubba Wallace really needs to come back this weekend. And Martin Truex Jr. cannot afford another retirement. Otherwise, he's out of the playoffs and out of the round of 12. And the round of 12 this weekend, well, the round of 16, so it concludes this weekend at Bristol Motor Speedway on the tarmac edition of it, not the dirt track, the tarmac Bristol Motor Speedway is the Bass Pro Shops night race. Half a mile, 500 laps, short track racing. A lot can go wrong for anyone there. A lot can be caught out on a short track. It is the last opportunity for those who haven't got qualified or made their way through to the final 12 yet. It's the time to do it now. And this is the weekend to be doing it as well. There's also got Xfinity Series action as well, the Ford City 300 on the Saturday. And the Craftsman Truck Series returns tomorrow as well. At the you know how 200% about higher logistics as well. That happens tomorrow as well. Tomorrow. I think it is, or Friday morning.
Yeah, tomorrow. 0200 in the morning. And that will be at Bristol Motor Speedway. So yes, it's going to be interesting. I think we also know as well Shane Van Gisbergen will be driving for Trackhouse next year, I think, from what I read up as well. Which would be a great. I really hope he can do a full season next year after that win on the streets. So it might be Nashville. They raced on the streets. It was on Chicago. Sorry, that was it. The street track there. He won there, and honestly, I mean, he done really, really well in that race. So I really hope he gets a full-time drive next year, and I hope that he's going to be in that series properly because he done a brilliant job last year in that car. Moving on now to Conversation Street. We're going to go a bit different tonight. We're going to be talking about another sport. We're going to be talking about wrestling. Now, not a lot of you guys know wrestling is a sport that is very physical on your body, but wrestling is a sport that can also be quite theatrical to watch. You go out, you see wrestling events, and we obviously know as well that there's also cage fighting, which is another sport. We know KSI, and I think Logan Paul done a cage fighting match one point as well. But let's go over the wrestling series. Obviously, we have WWE. You know WWE is very popular in America. We know that for sure. But there's also lots of wrestling series that you can just watch. Wrestling series is WWE. I mean NEA as well. There's so many divisions you can watch, and it's very, very interesting because wrestling is a sport that is, again, very, very physical to watch, and there's lots of news always from the industry that we really want to explain, and we've also got new details on AEW as well. AEW, that's another wrestling series. It is going to have a title match at AEW Rampage as well. I believe that is an event taking place in Cincinnati as well. But Zach, well, obviously, what do you make to the latest wrestling news? And obviously, for any of the listeners that don't know, wrestling is a very serious sport, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very physical sport. Some of it's real, like, UFC. It's a bit like boxing. More, we call it mixed martial arts, but it's a bit like boxing, a bit of wrestling in some ways as well. And that's real. You kick people in the face, you punch them. I know it sounds like there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of guts, and a bit of gore as well. But that's the main feature of it. And then you've got wrestling like WWE, which is really, really popular as well. I have to be honest, I haven't watched it for a while. The only last time I watched WWE was when they visited Wales, and I think it was last year actually. Not me. I didn't see it in Wales physically, but I saw it. They came to Cardiff, I think, last year, and they did an event there as well, which was interesting. And I can't remember half the stuff that happened there, but it was fun to watch. And then you got All Elite Wrestling, which is another thing that gets shown as well, another part as well. And yeah, it's fun. Oh, you see a lot of what they do. They jump on top of each other. They jump from items. They land on people. Some of it is acting, I should point out, and this is all part of a script. Other of it is pretty real, to be fair. These are like most of the people that do the jumps are trained professional. So they do take real risks, but this is all part of a script, basically. And they all pretend that they all hate each other, and all it is a nice little script that they write, and they'll get on behind the scenes and everything. So, yeah, it's physical, it's violent. Don't try at home, obviously. You're not going to become a superstar by jumping off your bed and then trying to land it downstairs and then put your head through the ceiling and all that sort of thing as well. It ain't going to work. But it's an entertaining sport. Men and women take part of it as well. So it's all genders. And yeah, it's fun. It's funny. It's a bit extreme if you don't want to see people jumping on top of each other, beating the crap out of each other. But it's, for some people, really do enjoy it. People actually really do enjoy it and see the fun in it.
And there's a lot of people that like television series and stuff like that. WWE is obviously the wrestling series that we all go to. And this is WWE SmackDown on a Friday night. Does anyone watch WWE on my show? All the listeners, if you comment down below, please, if you watch WWE, it's a wrestling series. Now, there's been reports of Road Dogg shares what Edge told him backstage during WWE SmackDown. Now, obviously, we have special nights where they name wrestling up WWE nights. John Cena goes out. I think Nick Aldis as well. I'm not sure he's wrestling in WWE. I know Nick Aldis, I think, used to be on Gladiators, if I remember watching that show all those years ago. Gladiators used to have professional wrestlers, if you know what I mean. But during a former WWE wrestler to what possibly with Ed joining AEW and contact WWE earlier, it's very, very interesting, this sport, to see wrestling at the top of its game. I mean, it will be a very interesting. Now, two contenders have emerged from to take the SmackDown from Fox, and the times are going to be changing. Take over by Endeavour and go through September the 12th, when the New York Stock Exchange opens early and brings years of major. So that it's going to be very interesting. I think that Zach, what do you make to WWE SmackDown coming on a Friday night?
I mean, yeah, it's been it's interesting because I think as well, actually, as you think about it as well, I remember, Monday Night Raw has always happened on Monday. I mean, SmackDown's going to be sort of changed between a Thursday and Friday. But yeah, there's an interesting set of plot lines hopefully coming up as well on the next Monday night as well. On the SmackDown as well. There's obviously John Cena is returning as well as a special guest as well on the Grayson effect as well. Grayson Wilk is no stranger to John Cena after being unwilling recipient of an attitude adjustment as well. So they're the return as well. There's going to be LA Knight battles The Miz in a playback rematch as well. John Cena serves a special guest referee. The Miz has demanded a rematch. Will the A-List get retribution? That's going to be sort of the two main storylines that are happening as well on Friday Night SmackDown. So yeah, you definitely as well something to watch for.
It's going to be interesting to all you wrestling fans out there. Very interesting sport. I watched it once at Butlins, and I know exactly what they've done. To be honest with you, like, we're all cheering around because you're like getting whacked on top. Honestly, guys, I actually think I'm going to say this now. I know a lot of people may find this interesting, but I think wrestling's actually to watch can actually be very entertaining at times. You know, like you see these people being thrown down on the floor. You might think, oh, I'm getting assaulted in that. But trust me, that's the sport. It's a physical sport. I actually think wrestling's more fun than boxing to watch, in my opinion. There's actually that added element of gladiators fighting it out on a ring. It's so interesting. And I really think wrestling will take on, especially in America, it's a popular sport over there. And over here, we've started, I think, showing it on TV. I've got a question, guys. Would you like to see wrestling come over to the UK more often? Please comment down below. I know, like Wembley, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, maybe Wembley Arena. We could host a wrestling event if we wanted to. We got facilities, Copper Box even. Zach, what would you make if wrestling came over to the UK in a lot? If that was to happen, like, do you think, say, a lot more events should happen over here in the future?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you get some, like, you know, in Cardiff and everything. It'd be nice to see a Wembley event, particularly like a big a headline event at Wembley, for example, or even the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, for example. They hold events there. It needs to be. It would be good to sort of like see whether to do one in Cardiff. I'd be like to see more of that as well. Yeah, it should be as well. Maybe they should try and do one in Manchester potentially. I think that'd be a good location to try and get a WWE event there as well, because that'd be sort of area they want to do it as well. It's the sort of Wembley, you know, Manchester, you know, sort of could try and sneak in a match there, main event sort of event sort of spectacle there. But yeah, it'd be good to see a bit more in the UK as well in terms of WWE stuff.
So that's all WWE. Now we have one more thing before we do the newspapers. Now tomorrow there is going to be a big new release in the music world. Now the music world is seeing lots of news at the moment. Now the big thing that is coming out tomorrow is Junior Andre's new single. It's called Only One. Junior has on his social media teased a lot about this single. He's released little excerpts of the song on, I think, iTunes. The whole song's going to be available to view tomorrow. Now, obviously, Junior Andre he's the son of Peter Andre. If you guys don't know, Peter Andre is a famous singer. He's also a reality TV star, had his own series, was on I'm a Celebrity, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, the white husband to Emily and her two children, also Peter's two stepchildren as well, Princess and Junior, as well. Now, Zach, tomorrow, obviously, Junior releases his big new hit tomorrow, and there's also plenty of other news in the music industry that he's going to have to go up against. Do you think Junior tomorrow releasing this song, this will be a huge release for him, along with potentially his first album coming out very soon?
I mean, I'm not sure how much impact on making the charts when you got the likes of Drake releasing tomorrow as well. But yeah, I mean, Junior Andre's obviously son, Peter. You know, we've seen him around quite a lot in the video, but as well. And I thought his first release was really good, actually. It was released Slide, but it was, and I really liked it as well. I just thought it was really good. I actually, the first place where I saw this song being teased was TikTok currently. And so it'll go around with the TikTokers, and whether it will go into an actual hit itself, I'm not sure, really, to be fair. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the single. I'm looking forward to hearing it as well. Be teasing it a little bit. It sounds really good as well, from the bits he sort of teased. But yeah, I look forward to listening to it.
And this is the Drake single, the new collaboration with SZA for upcoming album All for All the Dogs. This is going to be a part of an 8 studio album that Drake is going to be releasing. And Zach, could you tell to listeners exactly what his new track with SZA is going to be?
Yeah, so we don't know what the song name. I don't know what the song name is at the moment. I mean, there was some teasers going around. It looks like there's a paint on it as well. But yeah, it's coming out. It's rumored to come out tomorrow. We don't know whether it's officially coming out tomorrow at the moment. So we know that SZA is featured on it as well, and that's good to see. So that will be very interesting to see. That's a big collaboration, you have to say, as well. But the cover it looks like slime as well, but it's going to feature SZA, as you know, as they know it as well. So that's a song to look out for tomorrow as well. I mean, SZA's been teasing it on her social as well as Drake, and it looks like, as we understand, it's going to come out tomorrow ahead of Drake's new album, which I believe is going to be released the following week as well. So yeah, that is something to look forward to, and it's a big release happening in the music industry. Jake, one of the biggest rap artists out there, probably will beat Junior Andre. Let's just say that in the charts. Let's no doubt about that. But yeah, there's also new music tomorrow from Zara Larsson, which is going to feature a single which features David Guetta, the DJ, as well. I'm just trying to think as well what else that could be interesting. That could be Ryan Trout. Sia releases her new song as well. That's going to be big. And yeah, there's also new albums as well coming up from, let me just see, Maureen Morris, 30 Seconds to Mars as well, and then Pretender's got a new album, Relentless, as well. So that's all coming out tomorrow as well.
Yeah, so that's all of that. And I'm now going to play for you a short little excerpt of Junior Andre's new single. Have a listen to this. I managed to find this on social media. Have a listen to this right now. There we go, guys. That was the little excerpt there from Junior's new single, which will be dropping tomorrow. So we look forward to see how he gets on in the charts. Now it's time for the papers now. Press preview. We're going to be covering the newspapers. Lots of stuff to talk about. You're watching the Tonight Show podcast. Me, Charlie, and Zach, live on YouTube tonight, where we're going to be talking about all things news now. Politics and sport, all that kind of stuff. Different content. And now it's time for the review of the papers. Let's go through and have a look. We have now got to seriously refresh this page, because now there's been a load more newspapers that have dropped. Here we go. The Times goes, for A&E delays put patients in danger, says a doctor. Fears raised as the total NHS waiting list hits 27 million people. That is an unacceptable number of people. Oh, it's a huge number, in my opinion. Wow. Huge problems for our NHS at the moment with huge waiting lists. In the Daily Express, a dirty deal. Home Secretary Suella Braverman slams Labour's EU migration plan. And also, exclusive Annabel Croft, Why I Need Strictly to Get Rid of My Inhibition. Strictly Come Dancing will be airing very, very soon with a new series, a new lineup. The Daily Mirror goes, Tories £106 billion HS2 shambles. The final betrayal after axing the eastern leg of the journey. Government now set to ditch the line to Manchester. That seems to be a very interesting development on HS2. On that later in a minute. Daily Mail goes for, as 19-year-old legal fight with doctors tragically dies, as parents condemn the gagging order that she went to identify. In headline there, even in grief, we are banned from saying her name. The Daily Telegraph goes, pupils to isolate for 21 days as cases of measles rise. Oh, God, not another one of these again. Says 160,000 cases feared among unvaccinated children after a low take-up in the MMR jab. That's vaccination. And the Guardian goes, Sunak criticised by left and right over plans to end small boats crisis. Also, Martha's rules be introduced in England. A lot. Oh my God! Look how many papers there are, man. The Daily Star goes for Russian jet fired 2 missiles at an RAF plane seconds away from World War III. Wow, that's a serious headline there. The I newspaper goes NHS list set to grow as Prime Minister blames doctors for missing pledges. The Metro goes 7.7 million on the waiting list slot, and Financial Times goes for ARM shares leap up 20% in biggest US IPO for 2 years. Wow, we got a load of papers to get through. I think we got about something like nearly 10 papers to get through tonight. So, Zach, without ado, let's get this paper review underway, shall we?
Yeah, I'll try and combine some of the headlines together if they're similar or anything like that as well. But there's a lot of different ones I have to say on this week, and that's very interesting to see as well. I'm going to combine 2 papers first of all. For this 2 lot, I'm going to combine the Times and the Eye. So the Times are focusing on the health-related issues. A&E delays put patients in danger, says doctor as well. NHS waiting list hits 7.7 million. It's a new record as well. The waiting list of 7.7 is an absolute disaster, and it shows you that this is going the wrong way for one of Rishi Sunak's 5 pledges in terms of waiting list. We're reducing the waiting list. The waiting lists have gone up to a record 7.7 million as well. Hospitals are making people sicker, and patients have become delirious in A&E trolleys as well. So the Times are very sad that patients over 80 spent average of 15 hours waiting for a bed. It accused health leaders of taking their eye off the ball, and a long delays making people sicker. Rishi Sunak himself admitted that the government may not fulfil its promise to bring waiting times and blame industrial action by doctors.
Oh, sorry guys, we've had some technical difficulties with Zach's end at the moment. I do apologise there. Seems like my friend Zach has had some technical issues. So I'll get back to that in a minute. I just want to say that both of them papers are going with that headline there, that the NHS is in crisis at the moment, and we really need to do something about it, tackling backlogs. This could lead to many more people missing vital treatments, such as those with cancer, heart disease. We really got to improve the NHS and make our healthcare system a lot more functional, because it's a serious issue for our health service. And we really need to look into that right now. Also, another paper, Daily Express goes for a dirty deal. Suella slams Labour's EU migrant plan. It's the next headline. One of them ones where Labour, obviously Keir Starmer's done a speech and spoken about the EU plan and how that could all happen and stuff like that. It is a problem for Labour at the moment, as a problem for both parties, and this is going to be one of the biggest taglines for the next campaigns for the general election campaigns and stuff like that. Parties will have to mention about illegal immigration being one of them, because there's a lot of issues with it, and Labour certainly raising a tagline. Oh, we're going to get Zach back on the show now after a little technical glitch.
Honestly,
I managed to get you guys in while Zach's been there.
Internet dies during the middle of the thing. That's a great opportunity. Where were we at? I was talking about the Times, wasn't I? And then I was going to talk about the iNewspaper, which I think went on a similar story, similar headline to what the Times do, and I was going to combine the 2 together. So yeah, they're mainly focused on the waiting list at the moment as well. The fact that it's a complete disaster. The waiting lists are going up as well. The hospital experience is not doing very good as well. And yeah, it's just, again, it's a complete disaster that the Rishi Sunak's blaming, strikes for that. And yeah, it's not really strikes that causing the issues, unfortunately. Well, it is, but it's not really. That's the problem. The government unions not being able to negotiate and not come to consensus on strikes as well on that one. So yeah, on that. I want to move on to the Daily Express headlines and combine that with the Guardian. because Sarah Braverman has written in the Express today, calling the new Labour proposal a dirty deal as well. I mean, she tweeted about it earlier, but she called it a dirty deal and saying that he's going to, Keir Starmer wants to remain in the EU, which is nonsense. Because one might have been done that beforehand, but definitely not during this period that, as far as I know, since Keir Starmer took charge as well. But he basically said, Sir Abraham was ranting about Keir Starmer's proposal, saying that Labour's not to be trusted in illegal migration, mixed reactions, I have to say as well. I mean, the Guardian points that out. Criticism from left and the right. Left is left is saying it's not humane enough. The right is saying it's not, too much legal immigrants coming through. It's a difficult line to balance, I think, for Keir. I think personally, because Labour's immigration is a bit of hot water for Labour at the moment. But it's something to keep an eye on. The fact that he's 20 points ahead and he's happy to talk about it just proves how much they're willing to shift on this, and they're giving this little sort of a key feature of what they're currently showcasing. So I think that's a big deal in the fact they're able to talk about it and they want to talk about it. The Mirror goes for the final betrayal. This is the fact that there's reports that HS2, the second part of it between Birmingham and Manchester, could be about to be scrapped by the government. They have not committed to it all week. They've been dodging the question on that. The HS2 looks like it's set the final second stage set to be scrapped. It's cost about 104 billion, as you mentioned as well, because of different delay to get this going. I mean, it's all toys. This is one of the complete toy failures. They were talking about a Northern powerhouse and everything like that as well, and they can't even get the second leg of HS2 done because they've gone so over budget, so over time. It's just pathetic, really. And the result is this: a waste of 13 years of development as well. It's just incredibly unbelievable that they managed to allow this to happen as well. Andy Burnham not impressed. One of those speaking against cancellation as well. On that front, the Mail, even in grief, we are banned from saying her name. A 19-year-old, person. I think this was this as well. I think if I look at it, I think you got back go up. I think there we go. This is the news. Obviously, a 19-year-old person. I think if you go back up to it, Charlie, what was it? Yeah, even in grief, we are banned from saying her name. In Fight Over Doctors as well. I think go a little bit down. There he is. You've gone past it as well. But it's a very sad story, I have to say, on that one, and it just proves how sad it is, really, on that front. Just to look at the situation, state, and see, what's happening there as well. It really is sad, and it's very unfortunate what's going on right there now, and it's complete shocking. Even grief, we're banned from saying her name. Legal Fight with Doctors tragically dies. Her parent condemned the gagging order. I mean, she still can't be identified as well. It's a very sad story. We've had a few of these over the last few years, and I just personally, it's I feel sorry for the family. I feel sorry for everyone involved. It's really, really sad. Just to sort of understand what's been happening in that advance as well. So really unfortunate there as well. The Telegraph, what's the Telegraph talk about as well?
Measles.
People to isolate between measles. Blimey. So this is interesting. So if I'm correct in saying, what they're planning is they're going to do like 21 days isolation for students with measles if they're not vaccinated. That's like, it reminds me of the COVID times, doesn't it, really, to be fair, on that time. But 21 days, whew, I mean, it's a lot. Can't say as well, it's a lot to do on that one as well. But it's unfortunate. It's obviously going to distract people's learning. But the only thing I have to say about it is obviously, get a bloody measles vaccine. I mean, I don't know why people can't take it by now, because it's important that people do that, and obviously the cases are rising, so it needs to be taken as well. And
We're
I
going
think
to
it's
start
necessary
this
that
whole
people-
vaccine debate off now with the government and the Andrew Bridgen.
Oh, don't. It's like
I'm joking.
just take a vaccine. It's very simple. Like if you don't want to get measles, take a Blackpool to protect yourself. It's not like you're not going to fully protect you, but still, it's going to at least prevent the problem mostly as well. So it's important people take the vaccine as well. And just do their bit on that front. We've sort of covered the Guardian in a way. I'm going to go scroll if you have to scroll down, Charlie, to go for the Star. They're talking about a very serious story this week. Second away from World War III. This is news of a Russian jet fired 2 missiles at an RAF plane as well. This is a Russian Su-27 and then an RAF River Joint as well. They're saying seconds away from World War III, the fact that a Russian plane nearly hit a UK plane. I don't know whether this is over waters, whether this is over British waters, or whether this is over Russian territory or somewhere else in between. It's very serious, and should be treated very seriously as well. I mean, it's not the first time I don't think Russia have tried to do this, but it's still an alarming development that this. The Daily Star maybe sort of over exaggerate on this one, but it's a very serious development if this nearly did happen, and it's pretty poor if that is the case as well. If that nearly did happen, I mean that's very scary indeed. As well, yeah. So yeah, hang on, Charlie. I'm getting called a minute. I'm just gonna come back to you, Chilamo.
Whilst Zach's doing that, I just want to go through the metro quickly. As I said, 7.7 million people waiting for the slot. They're saying 200. The NHS will be given 200 million pounds this winter. Sunak blames the striking workers for the recent issues. Yeah, I mean, striking workers does not help money. But does it help the government giving enough funding for it? And what they've done to nurses? It'll be very interesting to see how that goes. So, yeah, and the final paper really to end the show off with Armshare biggest 20% in the US IPO for 2 years. That's the final paper on tonight's show, really.
Yeah. I think this one, if I remember, Armshare leads 20% biggest IPO for 2 years. So I think this is a chip company.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, look, it sounded like a chip company they were talking about. Armshare's leads the biggest IPO for 2 years. Chips valued at 5.6, is it 6.630 billion, something like that?
Yeah,
it's 663 billion as well. Hopes for the wire market boosted as well. So these are chip designers. So I think they're for the computing film sort of writing sales. So their shares leaked 20% in US IPO for many years as well. This is obviously to get ahead as well of the back companies as well. So yeah, if you're looking at the arms sales and sort of that thing, it's a good development from that sort of point of view as well. That this lot of making business and and that sort of thing. And obviously the picture in the Financial Times as well, Charlie, is the fact that that's the European Central Bank boss speaking there, because interest rates have gone up to 4% in the ECB today as well. We should point out as well, which is another interest rate increase as well. Yeah, economic concerns as well, pretty much still alive. Obviously, UK contracted 0.5 in last month's economic reports. Probably means another interest rate rise on its way as well. But yeah, more economic rise in Europe and beyond.
Yeah, there is a lot of issues economically at the moment. Definitely in the EU and in other areas. Yeah, lots of issues. And that is it, unfortunately, for the end of the Tonight Show podcast this week. I don't know, Zach, are you on next week or are you going to be away?
Yeah, so this is probably my last show for a little bit, because I'm going to be away for the next 2 weeks, because I'm going to be in sunny Cyprus as well on a little holiday there. One of my family, I think it's my aunt's sister is getting married, so we're going to go to a wedding and we're going to enjoy a nice little away time in Cyprus. It's going to be 30 degrees, so it's going to feel like an extended summer for me. But yeah, I'm going to be away for a little bit, so I probably will be away for the next 2 editions, and then I will return after that as well, because my holiday is from Wednesday to sort of Thursday next week, and then I'm back Friday morning because of flight times. It's going to be the first time I've been away, so it's going to be the first time I'll be abroad, so it's going to be quite an experience for me, but I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, you'll be on your own. I'm afraid you'll be on your own for the next couple of weeks. I'm sure you can hopefully live without me, but yeah, I'll be having a nice relaxing holiday for the next couple of weeks as well,
and probably in a suit as well. I wonder what the suit will be for the wedding.
It won't be in a suit actually, because we'll all be outdoors and it'll be too hot for suits, so we'll be in just smart clothes instead anyway. So yeah,
well, that's all we're going to say on that one. But I hope you enjoy your holiday, Zach, and all I'm going to say is that's it for the Charlie Tolher, the Tonight Show podcast for the 14th of September. And I will be back next week to guide you through the news on this show. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Take care and good night.
We're still going. Is it not letting it go live? Wow, technical issues.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Good night.